Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military with Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. The Russian Federation carried out another massive missile and drone attack through the entire territory of Ukraine using dozens of missiles and hundreds of drones, dealing significant damage to objects of energy infrastructure through the entire territory of Ukraine. And telling the truth, I didn't expect that Russians would attack Ukraine between the 19th and the 20th of January of 2026 due to the beginning of the Davos World Economic Forum. So, according to information we have, according to media, Trump plans to approve the mandate and full charter of the Peace Council for the Gaza peace process on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos. And according to information we have, the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, as well as the president of Belarus, Lukashenko, were invited to this Peace Council. And I expected that due to this biggest political event of the beginning of 2026, the Russians would postpone their massive missile attack, let's say on the for the 22nd or 23rd of January 2026. But the Russians decided to attack Ukraine at the beginning of this summit, which is not like just like a regular strike, which is obviously something like a very strong message to the Western countries and to the United States of America that the Russians are not going to give up. So let's discuss everything in details, and first let's take a look at this map that was published this morning by pro-Ukrainian sources. And here we can see the approximate roads of Russian attack. The Russians, as you can see, were attacking the southeastern part of Ukraine, and the Russians were attacking the northern part of Ukraine. As for the southeastern part of Ukraine, the Russians were attacking the territory between the cities of Dnipro and Kharkiv. As for the northern part of Ukraine, the Russians were attacking the Kiev and Chernihiv regions. So this was one of the biggest attacks from the Russian side. The Russians dealt significant damage according to pro-Ukrainian sources. To understand what exactly was happening, it's better to understand what was happening between the 16th and the 20th of January 2026. And I would like to remind you that during this period of time between the 16th and the 20th of January of 2026, the Russians were mainly focused on softening the air defense belt of the armed forces of Ukraine along the entire line of combat contact. During this period of time, the Russians published lots of videos, more precisely the Rubicon team, one of the most powerful FPV drone team of the armed forces of Ukraine, or a drone group of the armed forces of the Russian Federation, published lots of videos during this period of time of how the Russians were attacking and destroying different objects of critical and military infrastructure through the entire territory of Ukraine. This video was published yesterday, and we have already discussed this video, and according to this video we see that just during the previous days the Russians managed to destroy more than 10 radars of different systems that served for the armed forces of Ukraine as radars to discover drones and missiles that the Russians could launch. So these radars were completely destroyed, and the Russians published a video about this. Furthermore, during the same period of time, the Russians destroyed at least 2 Patriot systems. The first Patriot system was destroyed in the southwestern part of the city of Kharkiv, and this video was also published by the Rubicon group. Here we can see Russian drones that were flying about the southwestern part and attacking radars and launching systems of the Patriot system that was located in this area. As a result of attack, the Patriot system was destroyed. This video was published on the 18th of January. And today, more precisely during the previous 24 hours, the Russians destroyed the second air defense system of Patriot air defense system, and this system was destroyed in the southwestern part of the city of Dnipro. Here we can see the reconnaissance operation that was carried out by Russians, and as a result of this operation, the Russians discovered the Patriot system, and then the Russians attacked this territory with an Iskander missile. As a result of attack, the Patriot system was completely destroyed. So once again, Between the 16th and the 20th of January of 2026, the Russians were mainly focused on softening the air defense forces and air defense belt of the armed forces of Ukraine, and most likely the Russians managed to finish this task. So now let's return back to the 20th of January. Once again, let's discuss the map. As you can see, according to this picture, once again, the Russians attacked the territory between the cities of Dnipro and Kharkiv, and most likely the Russians continued softening the air defense forces of the armed forces of Ukraine. And the second area of attack was the city of Kiev and the city of Chernihiv. Lots of explosions were recorded. The sources reported about power outages and huge problems with heat, with water and energy supply. Yesterday in the evening, Ukrainian authorities made a very important statement. Kiev residents have been advised to prepare for even greater shortages of light, water and heat. The next attack could be very painful for Kiev, and there are 9 days of frost ahead. We have problems with missiles for air defense, and the Russians have been preparing for this attack for a long time. If you have the opportunity to leave the capital for a week or to visit relatives, friends, it's better to take advantage of it just in case. So, and the Russians began bombing and attacking. As for the previous night, we haven't received lots of videos where we might see missiles flying above the territory of Ukraine, explosions and so on. We just received lots of different articles and statements made by Ukrainian authorities. For example, the mayor of Kiev, Klitschko, stated that after this attack between the 19th and the 20th of January 2026 on Kiev, around 6,000 apartment buildings are left without heating. Nearly 80% of them are buildings where heating had been restored since January 9th. So, and first of all, we're talking about the left bank of the river of Dnipro. So this part of Kiev, let's add this part to the map. This one has no electricity, has no heat, no water supply and so on. And this is not something new for this part of the Kiev. The situation here remains the same probably since the beginning of January 2026, since the beginning of Russian massive attacks. Another important video was published this morning from the city of Kiev as well, and here we can see hundreds of people are waiting for transport at stops on the left bank. So due to power outages, due to problems with electricity, people and population of the left bank of the city of Kiev are not able to get their jobs, to leave their homes. They are staying on the streets and trying to get some transport and so on. So as you can see, the situation is critical, and most likely, as it was told by the Kiev authorities, this critical situation will last for at least 1 or 2 weeks. So let's wait and see what is going to be next. During the upcoming hours, we will receive additional updates of what exactly the Russians were attacking. Some sources reported that Russians attacked power stations on the left bank of the river of Dnipro. Let's wait and see. I believe that during the day we will receive additional analytics on this matter. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground. During the previous 12 hours, we received lots of very important changes. The Russians continue their offensive operation in the Sumy region, and during the previous 12 hours, the Russians improved their positions, as you can see, significantly in the western direction from the settlement of Grabovska. This information was provided by pro-Russian sources. According to this report, the Russians began assault operation in the direction of the settlement of Ryasnaya. Another important area is the northeastern part of the Kharkiv region. During the previous 12 hours, the Russians improved their position significantly as well. We have already discussed the situation in this area, and if you remember, several days ago, the Russians destroyed the only bridge in this area that connected this territory of Kharkiv region with the mainland. We have already discussed this video. Once again, here we can see how a Russian drone attacked mines that were installed below the bridge, and as a result of this attack, the bridge was completely destroyed. And as we discussed, this was the only bridge that connected this part of Ukraine, northeastern part of Kharkiv region. We're talking about this territory with the mainland. And we made the conclusion that most likely in coming days or hours, the Russians could launch their offensive operation with the purpose to establish complete control over the territory. On the 18th of January, we started receiving first videos where we can see how first sabotage and reconnaissance groups of the armed forces of of the Russian Federation were answering this part. And by the beginning of the 20th of January of 2026, we received more videos from the same area where we can see more Russian troops in this part of Kharkiv region. So the Russians began their offensive operation in this area. And most likely the Russians currently are tasked just to establish complete control over the most northeastern part and to connect with two more bridgeheads in this area. We are talking about the Volchansk bridgehead and the bridgehead in the area of the settlement of Dvorechinskaya. So basically, the Russians are tasked to establish complete control over everything along this red line. And then using this huge bridgehead, the Russians will try to advance further and deeper inside of the Kharkiv region. Now let's move further. As for the Kupiansk direction, during the previous 12 hours, nothing special. There are still very heavy clashes. The Ukrainians continue sending more and more troopers and forces on the Russian side of the river of Oskol. The Russians establish complete control with the main supply lines and trying to destroy everything that enters this area. As for the Slaviansk direction, during the previous 12 hours, nothing special. As for the Konstantinovka direction, during the previous 12 hours, small changes on the ground were recorded based on the video published by pro-Ukrainian sources. We won't watch this video due to casualties and violence, but as you can see, these are the changes. According to the video that was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, the Russians managed to restore control over the territories they lost as a result of Ukrainian short counter-offensive operation. As for the Dobropolye direction, if you remember, yesterday we discussed that Russians began their offensive operation in this area, and very huge changes on the ground were recorded between the settlements of Dobropolye and Drushkovka. So these are the changes between the dates. Today we received another report that Russians began offensive or intensified their offensive operation in the area of the settlement of Grishino as well. This video was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking Russians with FPV drones in this part of the settlement. Based on the video published by pro-Ukrainian sources, we have adjusted the map. Furthermore, pro-Ukrainian sources confirmed that the situation remains tense in this area, and now the Russians are trying to intensify their offensive operation with the purpose to establish complete control over the settlement of Grishino as well. As for the Zaporozhye direction, during the previous 12 hours, nothing special was recorded. So now let's wait and see what is going to be next. We are waiting for additional updates from this area. Another important video was published from the most northwestern part of the Donetsk region. Here we can see the same Rubicon group, and they managed to discover the HIMARS launching system of the armored forces of Ukraine. And when the Russians discovered the HIMARS system, they attacked this HIMARS system with FPV drone and they destroyed it. Furthermore, I would like to remind you that this is the second HIMARS system of the armored forces of Ukraine that was destroyed by the armored forces of the Russian Federation during the previous 5 or 4 days. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds us we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.